Hey, Peak Freaks, it's Mark here from Bangkok. Hope you're all doing well. This is a podcast with Mike Groux, US pilot.
Yes.
Now, can you tell us who you're working for now, Mike?
American Airlines.
American Airlines. Welcome back, buddy.
Thank
It's
you,
been a while.
Yeah, it's been 3 months.
It's been 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
Last time I was here, I was with Air Asia.
Yep.
And I'm happy to say I'm with American Airlines.
And you couldn't disclose. So we've done 3 podcasts.
Right.
The first one you were with AirAsia, as you
Asia,
mentioned.
yep.
The second one you were in transition.
Correct.
And now you're with
American Airlines.
America.
Yep, officially with American Airlines.
Perfect. And you've been over in the States for 3 months.
3 months,
What have you been doing?
Training. So I flew in a week before training. I just caught up with some family, some friends. It took me a while to get, being here for so long, and I hadn't been back to the States. The time difference, it took me, for that first 3, 4, 5 days, I was, my sleeping pattern was completely messed up.
Really?
Yeah, it took me about almost half a week, almost a full week to really get back into functioning mode, Then training, I flew down to Texas. I was in Texas for 6.5, 7 weeks training, 6 days a week, 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to 6, 7 p.m. It was 12 to 14 hour days.
Why that long?
Budgets. They want to get it done as fast as possible. They don't want to stretch it out. The longer they stretch it out, the more they have to pay their instructors, hotel rooms, facilities. A lot of people complained about the training course. Everything is so tightly packed in and rushed. But it comes down to, get it done cheap, get it done fast, and then off you go.
How does that affect How big are the actual groups?
It ranges. I've been many years ago. The first airline I ever worked for, there was only 20 people in my group,
right,
in my training class, and then they could jump up to any 40, 50. They'll split you up obviously into different groups. But this one was 20 people. 20 people out of 220 people.
Right.
So they just broke people up into different groups.
Okay.
So each day there was about 3 or 4 different groups going.
At the same time.
Running around the facility, the training center, you'd see bump into people in different groups.
Okay.
Yeah. And then every week a new class would start.
That's a big intake. 220. Were they all pilots or first pilots?
All pilots. We're in the same training center as the flight attendants. Flight attendants, the groups are about 60 per class.
Right.
And there's, maybe 3 to 4 classes a day, and every week they have new classes starting every Tuesdays. So there's the place is a madhouse. Everybody goes to lunch at 12 o'clock, and it's impossible to get. It's crazy.
And you're back now for a couple of days.
I'm back now for a week. So I've been here since Saturday or Sunday.
Weekend, yeah.
And then I'm leaving Sunday,
right,
most likely. I'll be back there for 4 days, and then I'm gonna come back.
Oh dear.
I know.
So where are your flights originating mainly out
of?
So
I'm based in New York, so all my flights start out in New York.
Okay.
So I'll do New York to the West Coast, New York to Mexico, to the Caribbean.
Nice.
Canada, Central America. I don't think I'll see European flights. It goes up in seniority with that.
Well, you get to see some groovy places.
The destinations are better, the planes are better, bigger, better quality of life. I wasn't happy at AirAsia. They treat the foreigners differently, and everybody's kind of, the management is mismanaged.
Yeah. But are you now, with your background, obviously you're half American, half
Swiss.
Right. So you don't see that's going to be a factor at American Airlines?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So they see you as American?
I'm American.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, fascinating. All these trips that you're doing back and forth.
Right.
You're an employee passenger.
Right.
And mate, what's been happening? We've got to address all these incidents, because I very rarely do I make notes for a podcast.
Right.
If you see.
What was the first one? United.
Mate, there was Florida. Every time Mike comes on the program, it's amazing. Every time Mike comes on the program, something happens.
Right.
I think the first one, there was the Fort Lauderdale shooting in the passenger or the baggage pickup.
Right.
If you remember.
Yep, I remember that.
That was in January or February. Then there was the plane crash in Melbourne, where a small 4 or 6 seater smashed into a
I remember that.
shopping centre.
Yep.
Right, early in the morning.
Right. A couple days after that, there was a small plane also in California.
Right. Yep.
Yep.
Correct. Yep. There was the one in South America that flew to Colombia team, right? With the soccer team.
Right.
And then now, just yesterday night, I was watching CNN.
Yeah.
Dozing off to bed, and there was a huge fight with Spirit Airlines.
Yeah. What was that? Fort Lauderdale Airport also, right?
Exactly, in Florida. And you should see the comments of everybody, clicking in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, everybody, I read all my friends' comments, and everyone's saying on Facebook, everybody's like, oh, it's Spirit's turn, you know? Yeah. All the airlines seem to be having weeks where, everyone's just...
What's been everyone? I mean, what happened there? What happened with Spirit?
They canceled flights because of pilot shortages.
Right.
Pilot contracts. So... There's a big shortage in the States with pilots, but let alone Spirit. All these budget airlines, pilots are trying to get out, pilots don't want to work for. So the pilots union is called Airline Pilots International Association. The pilots are arguing with the union that they don't want to work. They're working. They don't want to pick up more trips for more money because it means they're working more hours. Right, so it puts them. It'll either put them over duty hours or it'll stretch to the max, and pilots are tired. Why should I work X amount of hours and kill myself and I'm not getting the pay that I should be? I could be working for a major airline or a bigger carrier doing this and that. So Spirit pilots apparently, from what I understand, they don't want to fly. Almost like they're gonna go on strike. So they canceled flights. Because they didn't have enough pilots, and as you saw, I'm sure, did you see videos?
Yeah. I mean, we can't put them up, but
right.
I mean,
people got off the plane.
Yeah.
Once the flight was canceled, and then started fighting in the terminal.
So what happened? So they went to check in.
Right. They went to check in, told that their flight was canceled. Right. Meanwhile, while this is happening, other people are on planes already. Right. And they realize they don't have pilots, or they got to cancel the flight for whatever reason. Then they have to get off the plane. Now you got groups converging in the terminal, people that were already on the plane, people that are arriving to catch flights, and there are no flights.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And they're all fighting over...
Well, they were fighting... I don't believe passengers are fighting with passengers.
They were, mate. They were brawling, yeah.
Look,
some of the comments that we got here is Airport brawl. Spirit Airline passengers arrested during chaotic scenes at Florida Airport.
That's crazy.
The next one, federal court orders Spirit pilots back to work after chaos at Fort Lauderdale Airport. Spirit Airlines chaos fight erupts in Fort Lauderdale after cancellations. Let's just play that. Just get some audio. I think we can play the audio. We'll see what happens. It's amazing. Law enforcement. Chaos unfolds at Florida Airport after several Spirit Airline flights were cancelled. Wow. Then there are hundreds of people. The cancellations resulted from an ongoing labour dispute between Spirit and the Airline Pilots Association. Okay, this is amazing. More than 300 Spirit Airline flights have been cancelled over the last week across the United States. Amazing. This is almost something like a football or soccer brawl. And look at this lady going absolutely nuts. Gee.
I just don't understand what that'll accomplish. You end up in jail.
Yeah. But it's not good press for the actual airline, is it?
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know how they're going to handle this or what their intentions are or how they already have started to handle this. I'm assuming they've got to give some type of compensation, right?
Right.
Either a free ticket when they do have flights.
If they do have flights.
Or they got to compensate them somehow to get onto another airline, a partner airline, right? I just don't understand. So you get into a fight, you had a chance to get some type of compensation, but now you're in jail. And now you got...
That's ridiculous, isn't it? Do they have partner airlines?
These guys? Yeah, they're not part of a they're not part of a partnership.
Right.
It's called an alliance.
Right.
But in a circumstance like this, I mean, I've had issues where they do send them, you know, like an airline will oversell flights, or there'll be a mechanical problem, the plane breaks down, and they'll have to put their passengers on another airline. Of course, that airline gets a percentage, right? But I don't know how, you know, Spirit's a low-cost carrier. It's kind of like flying, what do they have in Australia? Virgin, yeah. So I don't really, I don't know how much they could compensate.
But the
Spirit is pretty much the lowest. You know, they charge you. I'm surprised they don't charge you for a seatbelt. Like they will charge. No, I mean they charge you for everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Small little bottle, a shot of water.
So does Jetstar.
Jetstar, AirAsia.
They all do, mate. They all do.
So I don't know how they're going to do this, and I'm assuming the cancellations are going to continue to happen.
I question.
It's not going to be fixed overnight with the whole.
Well, no, and if 300 have been cancelled in the last month, you know,
in the last week.
In the last week, was it? Well, surely you'd be smart enough to think, well, hey, maybe I shouldn't. I mean, I don't know how many of these were last-minute bookings, but you know, you try and sort of avoid.
But I mean, you see how many police officers were involved.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I would love to have shown that, but it was it's crazy. But going back to the point about, I mean, this is driven obviously by, you know, issues relating to the unions, to the pilots,
right? But passengers don't understand that and accept it. And lately, what's been going on with United and Delta and all these other incidences, passengers, they're not scared to speak out.
But why should they, Mike? I mean, they've paid a ticket. They're expecting a service.
Right.
They've got schedules.
Right.
Some have got money on the line. Some maybe business trips.
Right.
Some may be, you know, hotel losses, and you know, their once a year vacation. I mean, why should they tolerate it?
No, they shouldn't.
I'm not condoning fighting in the airport en masse and brawling.
Right.
But why should they tolerate it? I mean, I think the airline should be held accountable.
For any airline, big or small. I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar corporation, right? Spirit, at least. How can you run a business like that and cancel and not have pilots? You know, the pilots union, ALPA, is the largest one in the country, possibly the world, right? So if this is happening with Spirit, why isn't it happening? I've never heard of anything like this happening with other airlines. JetBlue, Virgin, America, Delta, United, American, you know?
There's obviously a deeper seated issue.
Yeah, I mean, Spirit pilots, Spirit itself, I mean, they're not exactly the highest paid employees. You know, it's not, there's low cost, but then there's really low cost, right? There's low cost, you can still run a good business where employees are happy. Look at Southwest. I don't know if you heard of it, one of the best low cost airlines in the world, and everybody's happy. Spirit, you know, they're working you max hours, you know, minimum days off. You're slaving basically, and for shit pay. And then this is probably what happens. Pilots say, you know what, I'm done. I'm fed up.
Well, we'll say that the courts have actually ordered the pilots.
I'm sure the government has to step in and say, look, get back to work, or I don't know what, you know, get back to work, or you'll never have a job.
Well, they should actually. I think they should face consequences like revoking their licenses,
or
criminal
paying
charges, or being out for compensation themselves.
Yeah. So this is going to continue to happen with Spirit, at least, cancellations. Like you said, it's already happened. 300 flights in 1 week. They're not going to fix this overnight. So as we're speaking right now, I'm sure they're canceling flights, or they're trying to scrounge pilots from everywhere to not cancel flights.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Amazing. So obviously that's got its issues, as you've talked about. But the other one that happened, I think, on the 23rd of April, that was only reported on the 3rd or 4th of May.
Which airline?
And that was Delta.
Okay.
And that was with the family.
Right.
So it was
the father,
mother,
Yep.
and 2 children.
Right.
Now, I don't want to sound facetious here, but and make too much of a joke of it, but the only person that seemed really pissed about this whole incident was the father.
Right.
When
you saw the video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you saw pictures of the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they all looked like they were at a party.
Yeah, the mother didn't say
The mum
anything.
looked great.
Yeah.
I mean, she was like, you know.
Yeah.
But the father, I mean, I saw the video footage.
Right.
I couldn't get a clip where they had the voice. So I don't know.
Oh, so you didn't you didn't hear any voice?
I didn't hear his
voice.
voice.
Okay.
So
Well, I heard the voice.
Okay.
And it was probably the same footage you saw.
Right.
And unfortunately, with all these video clips you see, we never see the whole story, right? Because passengers only start recording when shit hits the fan. You don't really know. It doesn't build up to it, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But from the audio that I heard was the father his argument was, I paid for these seats.
Right.
Right? For my kids. So why do I have to give them up?
Right.
Right? The fact that the airline oversold the tickets or whatever the issue was, that's not his fault. I paid for these seats. In the video, you also see, I guess it was the gate agent or one of the airline representatives. I don't know if it was a flight attendant, but they were arguing with him, saying, "Well, you have two choices. One is we'll take you all off, or you'll have to be split up.
Right.
We'll take you all off the flight, or you guys split up, and we could put, you two of you take this flight, and then two of you can catch the next flight."
Right.
And that's his argument.
But who would have got into the two other seats?
I don't know. The video clip didn't go. They didn't. It was just the father arguing about he paid for these seats.
Right. Okay. Because
so in this instance, what happens is if there is overbooking, and this is what it is. So there's two seats here, and I paid for both of them, me and my son.
Right.
Right. Now an airline, the airline rep comes on and says, "You know what? We actually sold the seat already to somebody else." Right. And I'll say, "Well, that's bullshit. I paid for it." Right. And I'll say, "Well, that seat has already been sold before I came on, before I bought my ticket." Right. How does that happen?
Exactly.
Yeah.
My point is, if we take the whole thing back systematically, because I'm a pretty systematic type of person,
Right.
and you buy a ticket. So I buy a ticket and you buy a ticket. For the purpose of the discussion, I buy it at 11 o'clock and you buy it at 11:01.
Okay.
I bought the first ticket, you bought the second ticket.
Right.
Okay. We go and check in at the counter. I get a boarding pass, you get a boarding pass. Now, if anyone's watching and they can explain this better, just you can send something to us and we can have a look at it and broadcast it out to the world, because I don't get this. Okay. So we both have a boarding pass. We both either clear the relevant channels, either domestic or international, and we get onto the plane.
Right.
So I've been allocated a seat, technically, and you should be allocated a seat. How can one seat be allocated?
For two people.
For two people.
Yeah.
So there is a systemic problem, I think, with the process or technology that they're using for that to happen. Because
I don't know how that could happen where one seat could be sold to two different people. I don't know. It baffles me.
Well, I think the situation with this one was that there was a son that was actually booked on another flight. And I believe what was going to happen was they wanted to get the son off because he was booked on another flight.
Right.
Okay. And the argument was that, well, no, hold on, we're a family, we want to stay together.
Right.
You will find the footage. I think we can play the footage.
Find the footage, because you want to hear this is what I understand. He paid for his family to fly for the seats, but one child was actually a lap infant.
What's that?
One child didn't need a seat, could sit on the father's lap. Because it didn't reach the age limit of where it had to be. You had to purchase an extra ticket.
Right. Yes.
Right. So his argument was he had an extra seat here and he put his son in the seat.
Right.
Yeah. And the agent is saying, you can't, this seat has already been sold. He says, no, I paid for the seat. I think there was confusion about, that as well.
Right.
If you find the footage with audio.
Yeah. Hold on. Well, I might have something here. Yeah, I've got something. Just bear with me, mate.
It's not safe, so we decided to do it that way and let him use his seat. I paid for the seat.
See, the cops are already on board.
We're just No, I know. We're not pulling no physical now. Okay? No, I know. And I'm not, look, I'm not trying to cause a problem. It's just what's, but, you know, I believe in standing up for what's right, and you know, I paid for the seat, and
How are we gonna handle this?
they need to do what's right. I bought this seat.
I understand. There's the federal policy, sir, that the names of the individuals supposed to be listed.
Now, who's talking to the father? The cop?
That's not true. That's not true, actually.
I don't
No,
know,
it's
but
not,
that was the
because people
important
move around
point.
seats in the plane all the time.
Go back a bit.
After it's in the air.
I've been.
The policy.
That's not true. That's not true, actually.
Back more.
No, it's not, because
The federal policy, sir, that the names of the individuals supposed to be listed. I don't need the policy.
that's not true. That's not true, actually.
Go back a little bit more.
No, it's not,
Okay.
because people move around seats in the plane all
After
the
it's in
time.
the air. After it's
Is that as loud as it goes?
So he was saying that the Hispanic speaking person who
Right.
seemed to be a law enforcement agent of some sort
Right.
didn't look like the actual staff member of the,
Right,
of
no,
the plane,
right.
was saying that it's policy that the person whose name is allocated the seat has to be in that seat,
Okay.
right? So
Right.
for some reason, that kid was not allocated that seat. I think he was allocated a seat on another flight.
Oh, okay.
That's what happened.
Okay.
Right? When I was reading the text version of it when it came out.
names of the individuals supposed to be listed. I don't need the policy.
That's not true. That's not true, actually. No, it's not, because people move around seats in the plane all
After
the
it's in
time.
the air. After it's in the air.
I've been on many flights where they've said take any seat.
You know, that's funny to bring up a point. So their argument is, like you said,
American Center for Law and Justice Jay Sekulow.
if my name is attached to this seat, I have to be the passenger to sit in the seat, right? I can't just switch with a random person and now you take the seat.
Well, we do.
We do. But the officer was saying it's policy that whoever's name is on that boarding pass for that seat has to sit in that seat. You can't change around. And the father said that's not true. I've switched around many times. And then the officer says, after the plane is in the air.
Correct. So my
Right.
question is, who was the guy? Where was the guy?
I believe that guy talking was the police officer,
No,
the
where
law
was,
enforcement.
where was the passenger who had the
Other seat, that
seat allocated to
no
them?
idea. Didn't catch him on video.
Yeah.
That's the problem. We only see so much
Yeah.
in the video.
Yeah.
You know, just like all these other videos.
Yeah.
Did you hear about American Airlines? It happened maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I was still in training.
Which one?
The flight attendant threw the baby stroller off the plane.
No, I didn't get that one.
You didn't hear that?
No.
You should find that out. There's a video on that too. And
Wow.
watch this guy.
Isn't it interesting? We just come
You
on-
have to watch this video.
Yeah, Trump Tacoma, you're fired. That's breaking news this morning. Gee, mate, you come back to Thailand and everything just falls down in
Unbelievable.
these states, doesn't it? So what's the topic here?
American Airlines.
American.
Airlines flight attendant and type in stroller. Flight
Right.
attendant baby stroller. See what pops up.
I think I saw something
Did you
about
know?
a
This was the
a
biggest one.
lady-
This is almost as bad as the United one.
a lady asking for a stroller back, but I wasn't paying too much
A
attention.
lady holding a baby, crying.
Not sure I can get any. Hold on.
Yep, this is it.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
You saw it?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. This one was where the captain. Was it the captain was got involved?
Well, that's the captain there.
Well, let's play the.
Just watch it.
Yeah.
That's the flight attendant.
Yeah.
That's the passenger captain. Captain's coming out.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You can't use violence with baby. Just give me that face stroller, please.
Hey, sir. No, I'm not going to sit here and watch this.
See, a lot of people getting involved now, right? Gee, they're
Just watch.
distressed. Gee.
There goes this guy.
Yep. So who's this guy who's come out of his
Just a
seat?
passenger.
Not related to the
Nope,
lady?
nope. Just watch.
Gee, if I was a pilot, mate, I'd be shutting that door and getting right back into the cockpit.
You know the pilot doesn't want anything to do with it.
Well, you can tell,
Look
but...
at his facial expression.
Exactly, and I want to go back to a point you made in an earlier podcast.
Just watch. So a flight attendant threw the stroller.
Right.
Now watch.
Through it?
Yeah, took it from her and threw it. Because she tried to bring it on the plane.
Yeah.
Just watch. You're going to see the flight attendant come back. He's a bald guy. Another flight attendant there.
Yeah.
There you go. Bald guy.
Yeah.
Watch.
So who's he?
He's the guy that did right. Watch.
Right.
Hey, bud. You do that to me and I'll knock you flat.
Wow.
You try that with me, I'll knock you out, bro. I'm not going to be silly. Yeah. Go with us where we're going. Come on. You don't know what the story is. I don't care what the story is. No one's heard a baby.
Good.
Not an accident. You keep looking at me to show me what you did to that lady. Keep it quiet. Yeah, I can see exactly what you did. Maybe you'll get videotaped too and get all over the news. I got it.
That's amazing. Pilot's back in the cockpit. Baby's still crying. Pilot gets off the plane. And then we've got the male air host off. So what
happened?
What ended up
A lady tried to bring the stroller on the plane.
Right.
And apparently, what the rumor is, he took the stroller out of her hand and threw it onto the jet bridge. Right? You can't take it on, threw it on the jet bridge,
Correct.
and they would just tag it and put it under the plane.
Correct.
Right? That's a story, that he took it out of her hand and almost hit the baby and then threw it onto the jet bridge. Whether that's true or not, nobody really knows, because again, nobody sees the video on that, right? This guy, the passenger that got up and confronted him, was just a normal passenger, right? Now, the flight attendant that is being accused of that apparently they found out that he did nothing wrong. Where he did go wrong was when he challenged the guy and said, "Come on, hit me." That's where he fucked it all up, right? As an employee, you can't do that. But turns out to be this guy is super senior. He's been with the company more than 30 years.
Who's super senior?
The flight attendant.
Right, yeah.
That's being accused, the bald guy that said, "Hit me." I think he just had a few meetings. He's not going to lose his job over this.
Right.
When you get to a certain seniority level, you can kind of there's a leniency towards that.
Yeah,
If
sure.
I had done that, right, and I'm only brand new into the company, I'd be gone. They say turn in your wings and you're done. Captain, obviously he has to get involved, but you could tell that he's just like, this is ridiculous. So what he's trying to do is let the flight attendants, it's really their job to sort this out. It's in the cabin. That's the cabin crew. It's their responsibility. If they can't sort it out, then they could bring it to the captain. Then the captain could decide what will happen, right? He can call. We have representatives at every airline that are trained to handle this, that go above the flight attendants, above the pilots, that can handle this, right? CROs, complaint resolution officers.
And where are they? On the plane or?
No, they're usually at every airport.
Right.
We have to call them.
Okay.
And then they come down.
Yeah.
Sometimes a gate agent is a CRO. Sometimes we have to call someone. They come down and they're trained to handle this. Flight attendants step back, pilots step back, and CROs handle this. They know how to diffuse situations. They can take complaints. They could take, they're protected by certain, it's their job, right? They're designated to handle this type of stuff. Again, I don't know what's going to happen to the guy. I don't know. The pilot obviously didn't really want to get involved. I'm sure at some point he did. He probably already made a phone call saying we need a CRO to come down. I don't know what's going to happen to the passenger guy that stood up and got involved. But that was a big one too. I remember watching that in training, and everyone was there was gossip all around the training center about that. Right after that. This was right after the United one, where the doctor got dragged off with the bloody nose.
The Vietnamese guy.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Well, I want to have a look at that. Now, just going back to this one for a second. In our very first podcast, we were talking about... I think there was a podcast when the guy went nuts at the baggage reclaim.
Right.
And he had brought the gun on the plane
Right.
through another airport,
Right.
connecting flight,
Right.
put it in his hand luggage, and then did what he had to do
Right.
with the luggage. Okay. So anyhow, what's my point here? And you had said that you had situations where people have left their guns on the plane by mistake. And I was saying, well, what happens if there's violence on the plane, or someone's threatening to use a gun,
Right.
And you said the pilot, under no circumstances, can get out of the cockpit.
If the pilot has a gun, he's an FFDO, which is a flight deck federal officer. They cannot and will not open the cockpit door to come out.
If the pilot has a gun.
If the pilot is armed to
Right.
protect the cockpit,
Yes.
he cannot come into the cabin to protect or save.
So I misunderstood that. So if
Right.
the pilot is unarmed, they can walk out and do whatever they want.
No, that flight once the flight is in flight, that cockpit door has to stay shut no matter what, because even though it means there's a risk of loss of lives in the back, the main objective is to keep control of the plane, right?
Okay.
I just went through that in training.
So
by under no circumstance whatsoever
Right.
can we ever open up that door or give up. We can't give up the flight deck. the cockpit.
Okay. So it's once it's up in the air.
As soon as we push back, we close the door. Airlines are different. In the States, when you're boarding the plane, we still keep our cockpit door open. You can actually
You
see
see
it.
it, yeah.
Right, just like there.
Yeah.
Here, I boarded a flight coming into, here in Asia, AirAsia, and a lot of the Asian flights. When you're boarding, that door's already shut.
Well, it
Passengers
depends
will
on
never.
time. I've got it on flights
And it's wide open?
early. I'm generally the first one on the flight.
Right.
Right. Gold card,
Right.
bang in, get settled in. Yeah, quite often I see the door open.
Oh, okay. Every time I go on, door's shut already.
Well, you've got guys with big briefcases bringing them in, and different people, maintenance crew coming in and out. So I think they're probably allowed boarding to happen, if that's the case,
Right.
sooner
Right.
than when the door is shut.
Right.
I mean, boarding should technically then start when the door
door's
is shut.
Right.
Okay, and they're
Right.
ready to go. Okay, so once that door is shut and you're in flight, you can't get out of the cockpit.
Can't get out.
Okay, unless you want to go to the toilet, obviously.
Right.
Okay.
And then there's procedures for that.
How so?
Well, in the States, the way it's done is if we have two pilots up front, one pilot wants to go to the bathroom, first we call in the intercom and call back to the cabin crew.
Right.
And say, hey, I got to go to the bathroom, right? They got to, first, then the cabin crew has to make sure they have to shut, whatever they're doing, they have to stop. In the galley, they have to stop. If passengers are in the lab or want to go to the lab, they have to block it off and say you can't, or use the one in the back, right? Then most of the time we'll take a galley cart, the big ones, and we'll put it, if this is the across the aisle as a
Right.
barrier. I mean, you could still hop over, push it over, but it's another barrier to stop passengers. The flight attendants will turn the lights to bright so everybody can see what's going on in the galley. And then when the pilot comes out, one flight attendant will go in. So we trade places. So I go out, you come into the cockpit.
So there's a flight attendant, a pilot,
Right.
and you're in the toilet.
Right.
Okay. You finish with the toilet,
I come out,
you come out, you
knock on the door, call and say, hey, I'm ready to come back in. Door opens up, you come out, I go in. Or I go in, you come out.
and then they take out the
They move the cart, and then go
barricade.
back to doing what they're doing, and passengers can use the lab again.
Wow.
Yeah, there's procedures for that. Just because the minute our cockpit doors in the States they're designed to, once they're open, once we unlock them electronically, they're only open for about 5 seconds.
Right.
If nobody opens up the door, it'll automatically deadbolt again, lock up, right? Once we open up the door, if the door is open for more than 5 seconds, for example, if it takes me a long time to trade places with you and we're talking and the door happens to be open, a warning horn will come on, meaning that it's been open for more than 5 seconds. And it's crucial. The procedure has to be done correctly, just because every time that flight deck door opens, every time that passengers see what's going on, it just raises the risk of, it's very easy for someone to, we've done it in training many times where we simulate emergencies, right? Someone could easily just bum rush charge and rush the cockpit, and you're done.
But they'd have. I mean, there's a fair distance between the actual first seat
On smaller planes, like A320s,
business class.
right? On smaller planes, you know the boarding door where you come in.
Yeah.
And then, so you have the boarding door,
Yeah.
and then you have the cockpit, and then the whatever, the first class cabin or the business class cabin. So there's a distance about from here to the wall, right? But again, for those 5 seconds that the door is open, if there was a passenger or a group of people that wanted to rush, it wouldn't be hard at all. It's been proven that it's very easy to do it. Nowadays, I think passengers are more, if that ever happened, people are more, passengers would probably help out, try to get involved, try to stop the people.
But let's face it, if you're reading a magazine and I'm sitting next to you,
Like
and,
that.
and you have intent, and you know the system,
Right.
It could happen so quickly.
Listen,
that
all the
you'll be-
training we've done in training, all the simulations we've done, all the videos we've watched, in a split second, literally in a split second, everything could change. Things happen for those 5 seconds, and that's a long 5 seconds.
I can imagine.
Things could be, if these guys, again, like you said, these guys know the system, they know the planes, they have it all thought out. I mean, those 5 seconds is a lot of time to do something. And so it's crucial. When I open up, when I say, hey, I'm coming out to use the bathroom, the minute that door opens up, you got to come in, I got to come out, and we lock it up. That's it.
Okay, so interesting point. How do you get trained to deal, if I were to do that, if I were to actually use that 5 second gateway and get into the cockpit, right? So the flight attendant's obviously not in there.
Right.
Okay, because I'm in there.
Right.
Okay. I jam the door, I lock the door, because once it closes, it must bolt lock
Right.
electronically.
Right.
I'm in there with a pilot. What are you trained to do? How are you trained to respond to that?
If you were the bad guy,
Yeah.
and you're in the cockpit with me now,
Yep. And the door's locked. How are you trained to deal with
that's
this?
pretty. We haven't gone through that scenario.
That's pretty scary.
That is pretty scary. You know, do you have a gun? Do you have a knife?
I don't know.
You know?
I mean, you tell me. I'm an unarmed pilot,
Right.
and I think we spoke before that pilots everywhere around the world are either armed or unarmed, or can be armed or unarmed, depending on the geography. So assume I'm unarmed.
I'd probably have to fight you.
Wow.
Try to push you out of the. What would probably happen in that instance, if that happened to me and I was in my seat and all of a sudden this guy comes in and he's obviously not a pilot. This guy comes in. I'm like, who
He's
are
a
you?
madman. He's dressed like me.
Right.
He's obviously forced himself into the cockpit. He's not a guy who just wants to have a scenic view of how the flight's playing
Right.
out. Right.
The minute that happened, if you came in, if you forced yourself in and then shut the door, and I knew something right then, I knew that my instinct would be to jump out of my seat as fast as I can and try to force you back out. I'll open up that door. I don't have to get you out, because once I can open up that door, once it's open, then people can come and help me or pull you back from the back.
Okay.
That's my instinct. I mean, could you have a weapon on you? Maybe. But then again, that's just a chance I take. I mean, I'd rather try that than have you take control of the plane, or then, have time to pull out a knife or a gun, put it to my neck and say, do this, do that. Because then the game's pretty much over.
Yeah. Do you carry a weapon?
No.
Do a lot of your pilots that you travel with carry a weapon?
Some, I'd probably say 50. It's a 50-50 shoot. A lot of pilots, some pilots do, some pilots are really for it, and some pilots just don't want anything to do with a gun.
What are you?
I have to go through the training course.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
you
have
do a
to.
training
Yeah, I have to
course.
take time out of my schedule to go to Arizona, do the training,
Right.
and then I can get the license, and then I can get a firearm.
Okay.
So, are you asking me, would I? Do I want to? Yeah, I do.
Well, no, I was asking you, do you? But I didn't know whether or not.
No.
you,
I don't, but I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I would as well.
Yeah.
Who funds that? The airline or you?
It's a privately funded. We do.
Oh, so you've got to take annual
I've
leave.
got to pay. Yep, I got to pay for it. I got to.
Go to Arizona. How much does it cost?
I'm not sure. If you
It wouldn't be cheap.
no, I want to say it's more than $1,000.
Oh, you got to get to Arizona, right?
Yeah. Well, that's free. I could fly to Arizona.
Oh,
But
yeah,
you got to
okay.
take you got to pay for the course. You got to pay for your weapon.
Yeah.
I think everything is. They gave the pilots a choice. You can pay for it and arm yourself, or not. But it's not. The airline isn't going to do it. it's a privately funded thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Going back to the story of the lady in the stroller. So, again, systematically looking at this, right, and objectively looking at it. I've been in so many gate lounges waiting to board the plane.
Right.
Okay. You're sitting there and you've got strollers, right?
Right.
Kids and elderly, disabled, wheelchairs, all board first, correct?
Right.
Okay. Would you not think that between giving over your boarding pass and getting that scanned, or depending on the boarding gate, then walking through the jetway, that someone would have taken that stroller and parked it to the side, because you can see them all sort of to the side, right?
Right.
Before the jetway gets pulled off the
Right.
plane. Wouldn't you think how did she even get the stroller on the plane?
I don't know. See, we didn't see the part of that video. I've seen people come on the plane with some crazy things. Obviously, there's not always somebody at the end of the jet bridge at the bottom there waiting. You know, the first employee that they could see is the flight attendant on the plane.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you try getting on a plane, mate,
Right.
and I'm now going to challenge this, try getting on a plane and not show your boarding pass. You've got
Right.
no chance,
Right.
right? Because there's two ladies or two
Right.
men, right, flight attendants, asking for your boarding pass.
Right.
And you cannot get on that plane without a boarding pass.
Right.
So you're telling me they checked the boarding passes and they did not pick up that she was bringing on a stroller. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And why wasn't it managed then? And why did it take the ball guy to come and throw it off?
Right.
I mean, again, we didn't see the video. Did
Right.
he throw it off, or did he take it and place it off? And again, what was said during that removal
Right.
process that upset the lady, I don't know. But
Right.
why wasn't it all sort of prevented rather than reactively dealt with?
I think a lot of, again, it goes back to, if that was the case, right, where he took it from her and said, hey, you can't bring this on the plane. I think there's got to be a story, an underlying story that we don't see in the video, or people haven't explained and you know, voiced the true story of what happened. If you see the video, she's hysterically crying.
That's terrible. Yeah.
You know, people don't cry like that
Out of control.
over if I'm arguing with you and saying you can't bring it on. You know, even if I said some mean things, people don't break down like that. That's pretty intense. So it had to be something more drastic than that. Again, how does the airline not know or not catch that she has a stroller? I don't know. I just don't know.
But you're saying for that type of emotion,
Right.
to be triggered, there must have been some sort of event,
Right.
that was underlying that really didn't,
Right.
that she didn't cope with very well or wasn't delivered very well.
Right.
Okay. Interesting about the CROs, and I mean that we saw what 5 minutes?
Not even. But
Not even?
yeah, about
3 or 4
right.
minutes. Do you think the pilot should have actually called the CRO sooner?
The flight
Or-
attendant. Well, the flight attendant should have. The minute it got out of hand, where
A passenger got up.
a passenger got up. Okay. The fact that the lady was crying, they're still trained to deal with that. But once the passenger got involved, then it became a real altercation. The flight attendant should have stepped back, or one of them should have got on the phone and called. Now, had the call already been made when this video was shot? Maybe.
Who knows? Because
they could be coming from everywhere. They could be, it's a big airport, and if the CRO is at operations in the office or in the lounge, it could take them 10 minutes to get to the gate, right? A pilot's job would probably be to, if he didn't already call the CRO, you know, again, with the crying of up until the guy got in the guy's face, the pilot should really never get involved in that. It's not a problem.
But if the pilot was actually, well, he didn't really get involved. I mean, he had his hands crossed.
Yeah, he had his hands
He had a
crossed.
poker face on.
Right. I'm sure he asked a few questions. I saw when the guy said, "Come on, hit me," he pulled the guy back.
Yeah,
That's where he really got involved.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think really that he had nothing. He shouldn't have been involved with that. Now, what the captain could do is say, "Well, this guy that got up and started a fight with that was the verb." He could say, get him off the plane too. Right? Because if this flight attendant is actually working this flight and they keep him on the plane, and when the 30,000 feet, what if they spark up another thing, right?
And they would. And
right.
they would.
Right, and they already started, they had voices. Who's to say it's not going to continue up there,
Correct.
right? So the captain at that point would have been like, two things he could have done. He could have, again, with the circumstance, he could have said, well, get this flight attendant off the plane. They'll replace him and keep this passenger on, or get this passenger off the plane. Or they could have said, both you guys get off the plane.
What's the protocol? Is there anything set in stone for that one?
It's the captain's call. Just, who's at fault, what really happened, right? Who's really to blame? Is it the flight attendant? Is it the passenger? But again, the fact that they had that altercation, the verbal altercation, it's not, that could happen up in air. Because did you see how, it's one thing for the passenger to start with the flight attendant.
Yeah.
But the fact that the flight attendant is also, he's aggressive, he's an instigator, get them both off the plane.
Yeah. He was aggro. Yeah. I think you're right, because then you run the risk, if you have the flight attendant on the plane, him starting something up with someone else.
Right. I have the feeling the flight attendant probably got taken off the flight.
Right.
And that passenger, they probably kept him on.
So who does the end-to-end investigation with this type of stuff? Is it
it's
internal affairs?
Yeah, it's internal. There's a department that'll handle that. The manager of whoever. That flight attendant, who's his base, everybody has different base manager. So if we're working as a crew together, we're both based in Bangkok. You might have a different base manager, I'll have a different base manager. Right. So if I have a problem on the plane, my base manager will handle my problem. That manager will have to investigate, dig up stories. They'll have to, did witnesses, so every time there's an issue, we have to write a report, right? Get witnesses. What that flight attendant should have done, every time we have a problem, get witnesses, because those are the people who are going to help you out, right? So the manager will say, well, who are your witnesses that could back up your statement? Then I'll also go to the pilots, I'll go to all the other flight attendants. Everybody has to get interviewed or get called up at some point and ask questions, and then we try to piece out the puzzle, who did what.
Pretty good nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah, it could take time. It could take a while.
Yeah.
It could take a while.
Unbelievable. Let's skip now just very quickly to the Vietnamese guy. I didn't know he was a doctor.
United?
Yeah.
He was a doctor. The news had a doctor. So the story was, I believe the flight was oversold. They were offering people, volunteers, to give up their seats, and we'll give you compensation for the next flight. We'll give you money. I think it's $400 or whatever it is. The doctor volunteered, right?
He did?
Yeah, originally he had volunteered. But when he realized that the next flight was too late to get him to where he's got to go, he said, I got to be on this flight. I have a patient that's waiting for me.
Right. Pretty good.
And then again, the video, all we see is him being dragged off the plane.
Yeah. Okay. By whom?
Security, police, law enforcement.
Okay.
Yeah. Flight attendants will never drag people off the plane. We let that to law enforcement.
But seriously,
right?
No matter what happens,
right?
How it's said, what he said, surely you can't treat another human being. I mean, this is not a riot,
right?
It wasn't an out of control demonstration,
right?
That was a serious incident.
So what happened? Obviously, he sued the airline. Whoever was right or wrong, I mean, I think they were more in the wrong, right? He sued the airline. They wanted to settle out of court. They gave him $2 million. Of course, he's doing interviews now, and this is public, it's social media. I mean, the airline's gone, the reputation is shit.
This is United now.
United Airlines.
I get confused between...
Yeah, United Airlines. So now the CEO had a press conference, and now what's going to happen is the way the policy, the way that things are like this are supposed to be handled, they can no longer force people off the plane. Now, this is just United, right? I don't know other airlines, but United now, their policy after this happened, they quickly changed it and said, we can no longer force people off the plane, right? All we can do is offer more incentive to get off the plane. So whatever it is, it used to be $400. I'll give you $400 if you can take the next flight, right? Now I'll give you $800. I'll give you $1,000 if you can take the next flight, or I'll give you $800 and a hotel room to catch the next flight in the morning if it's a late flight. right? So the only way they could do it to get people off the plane is offer more incentive to get off the plane. They're never going to force people off the plane anymore.
Okay, what I don't get, and okay,
Right.
point taken. How can there be more people sitting on the plane than
A lot of airlines,
seats
a
on the plane?
lot of airlines in the States. I'm not sure how they do it in Asia and Europe. I'm sure they have some type of similar system. But many airlines in the States oversell tickets. They have a margin that they'll oversell by.
Yeah.
So if there's 100 seats on the plane, 100 physical seats on the plane,
Yeah.
they'll sell maybe, say, 140.
Yeah.
Right? So you'll be that guy out there. I'll be a guy out there. We'll go on our internet. We'll book a ticket. Right? It says I got a seat. I'm good to go. Right? We get to the gate. We show up, and the flight's oversold. And all of a sudden, they say we don't have any more seats.
Yeah, but my point, why isn't it done there, and why is it done? So, in your scenario that we've just discussed with the Vietnamese doctor,
Right? Why did he even board the plane? Why was he?
well, were there 4 people or 5 people standing up looking for a seat?
Possibly. Again, I don't know all that. But again,
You get my point.
yeah,
right?
I do. It's a system. It's a flaw in the system, but at the same time, it's designed. I mean, there's a system to it, a method to the madness. There's a high percentage of people who no-show, who book seats and then end up canceling for no reason, or end up not showing up. So that's why they oversell, just to make sure flights always go out with full capacity.
And look, you know, if I had, look, there's plenty of reasonable business
Right.
reasons why you do that.
Right.
But then how do you prevent situations like this? I mean, this has gone right to the end.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got people standing in planes waiting for a seat,
Right.
the flight is
Right,
booked,
right.
there's
Listen,
a problem.
I my old airline, not AirAsia, but back in the States, or even here in America, with American. So you look at a flight. I'm trying to go from New York to LA. I want to see, as an employee, I could see how many people are on the flight. I could see how many other employees are on the flight. Do I have a chance of making that flight? Because remember, I'm standby. I'm not paying, right? So I only get a seat. I only get on the plane if there's a seat available, right? I'll look at a flight, New York to LA, for example, and it'll say -20. That means it's oversold by 20, right? Never mind the standbys, other employees and all that. Oversold by 20 revenue people. There are 20 people that paid for a seat that doesn't exist.
As an employee.
No, these are normal, regular passengers. I could see that there's 20. It'll say a number, -20.
Yeah, you as an employee.
I mean, as an employee, I can see this.
The revenue.
Right. So I can say to myself, shit, it's oversold by 20 people. If these revenue people can't get on, right, I'm not going to get on the flight because I'm standby. So then I'll look for another flight. But then I always said to myself, -20, how does an airline, and that's not even bad. I've seen other, like Delta, for example. I was coming home from Italy once, trying to get from Italy to New York. The flight was -72.
Wow.
Okay? I think that was including employees that were trying to get on the flight. But how do you sell so many seats that don't exist on a plane? People are buying tickets and they're going to show up to the airport and not have a seat. They're going to be told the flight is oversold. We don't have a seat for you, even though you paid, but I can put you on the next flight.
Interesting, very interesting, and scary. Wouldn't you think, and off the top of my head, wouldn't you think that you would just say the policy as a start point would be that the employee, because the Vietnamese guy, that incident resulted from an employee wanting to take precedent over.
Correct. I believe it was
It was
something. I
an
remember
employee
reading something about
overbooking.
that. Right.
No, it was definitely
Okay.
right. So,
Right.
wouldn't you think the either the CRO or whoever the
Right.
the
Oh, that's right. There was an employee that had to commute, get to work. He had to get to the destination,
Well,
right?
bad luck. I mean, you're an employee. It's
Well,
your
right.
business, right? You
Right.
get to you
Yeah.
know, no
Yeah.
one cares if I drive the long way or the short way to work.
Right, right.
I've got to get to work.
Right.
Right.
I get,
So wouldn't you just say, right, okay, the airline, the most senior flight attendant goes to Mike and says, Mike, we're overbooked, buddy. We've got 14 staff on. The 14 staff have to get up and go, and we've got to deal with this off the plane. And at least 14 people that are paid,
Right.
that are passengers, that can prevent this type of situation happening would occur, right?
Right.
Would get their seats.
Right.
Now, if you're stupid enough to have an incident as an employee over a seat that you're probably getting for free, or you are getting for
Right.
free, then I think you've got bigger problems.
right.
And so does the airline for that matter.
There's been many instances where I've been waiting at the gate as a standby, all right? and I'm on company business, for example. So I'm called what they call a must ride, positive space, right? No matter how oversold the flight is, no matter what happens, I have to be on that flight to get to where I gotta go. And it's, part of me is just like, part of me saying, never mind the other standbys that I'm gonna bump off. I can care less about them. But part of me is also saying, I might be taking a seat of a paying passenger who now has to take another flight.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
So what if there's that doctor that needs to go to the hospital? What if there's a father whose wife is in labor, or someone has to get to a funeral, or whatever, Yeah, I think there should be instances where, even though I have to be to where I got to go, a paying passenger should always come first, right? Yeah.
It's scary. It's scary.
Yeah. Again, if I'm on company business, right, and I have to miss my flight, that's fine with me because I'm on company business. I don't care if I miss something. I don't care if I miss a meeting or this and that, right? If I'm on vacation, if I'm trying to get somewhere else on my own time, that's a different story because it fucks up my plans. If it fucks up my company plans, I don't really care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
Take me
sure.
out. I'll give my seat to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I agree. I agree. But I still think there's a lot of room.
There's
a lot of room for, and it gets back to the points you always and I always make about profit and greed and corporate greed. That why don't they do the reverse? Why don't they undersell by 10 and wait for people to rock up at the airport and buy a ticket, or put a couple of your scenarios on that they must fly for work, or the standby guys that miss out.
Yeah, I have no idea. And airlines have been doing
greed
this.
and profit.
Right.
Interestingly enough, I've never ever had that situation happen to me in 25 years of consistent flying.
Well, that's good.
It's fantastic. It's
That's
fantastic.
good.
And to be honest,
Well, there's a ratio, and I wish I knew it off the top of my head. There's a ratio that, for example, a 767 has to go out with X amount of seats full. I think what was it? If there's more than like, if there's more than 5 seats at a certain price, then that flight has lost money.
Yes.
Right. And it's crazy. So there's so many reasons why they do it, and they've been doing it like this for decades.
Yeah.
Airlines oversell tickets, and now it's even worse. 20 years ago, it wasn't as bad as it is now.
Right. Well, I fly to Singapore, Malaysia. A lot more people flying now, right?
Right.
So
a lot more people flying.
So that's where it manifests. So a lot of flying to Malaysia, Vietnam, Singapore, Southeast Asian countries,
right.
And some of these Thai flights. Once you get past I think the number goes from, once you've got business class,
right.
Then you've got, I think, rows 15 to 45.
Right.
Then you've got 45 to something else, and then you've got the third part of the plane.
Right.
Once you get to that second part of the plane, it's almost empty.
Yeah.
It is literally almost empty. So, and this has been going on for months and months and months. So they must be losing money, hand over fist.
Yeah, I don't know how some flights, even America, I've flown flights before where we only have 3 people on the plane. How does this happen?
Yeah.
How? They should just cancel the flight.
Why wouldn't you cancel a flight?
I have no idea.
Just put them on the next flight.
I put them on the next flight. I don't know. I've flown many flights, especially commuter flights, the regional planes, the little planes that do the hopping, back and forth, kind of like what you do, Bangkok to Kuala Lumpur, right? Just where they have route flights every hour. Right? I've flown flights like that in the States where we're half full, and you're just like, there's nobody on this plane.
Yeah.
What, it costs more to pay us.
Yeah, exactly. There's one more, mate, I want to talk about. This happened, this is the most recent one actually out of the all of them. Last Saturday on the 29th of the 4th, 2 Saturdays ago. The pilot actually hits a passenger.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah. I didn't see the video. I read
Right,
it.
let's put that one up because this is I still can't get over this pilot's face. He's just thinking,
I just want to go home.
What the fuck is happening here? Anyhow. So what do we basically Google now?
What airline was that?
This one here?
No, the one where the pilot hit the pilot.
Delta. So yeah. Delta pilot strikes passenger. This is at Atlanta Airport, right?
Figures.
Well, the problem is, I'll tell you later.
Is this?
This is on the jetway.
Right.
I don't know what happened there to cause that altercation between the passengers. Look at the see that?
Go back to it. Can you make it bigger? Or no?
Yeah.
Go back.
I'll do it from the start, right? So they're on the jetway. Okay. That's pretty. That's a fair way away from the door, right?
Yeah.
So there's something happened there with two passengers. One passenger kicks the other to the floor. Captain's there and just belts the passenger on the floor twice and walks away. Is that what you saw?
Yeah. That's a girl?
They're both women.
They're both females.
They're both women. Well, all of them involved in that altercation were women, and the captain is still there. Hard to pick up the audio.
But it's so weird. The pilot just did like one quick strike and then walked away.
They looked a couple. Looked like a couple, right?
Yeah.
But one, it's a woman.
Right.
Two, not that it makes a difference. Two, she was on the ground already. See, there was a couple of punches in there, mate. You know, I think in the actual verbiage.
Okay, there's three people right there now. She's sitting on one,
she's sitting on luggage, mate, isn't she?
No, there's a passenger under her butt.
Wow, she's sitting on a person. That's out of control.
What did they say about this? Or do you know what happened? What was the story behind
Well, this just goes on, right? Let's just have a look at what happens towards the end.
Okay, there's a flight attendant.
Yeah, there's a flight attendant. Well, they all get up, right? That's it. Let me just get out of here. I can't really remember what the commentary said. So, Delta pilot hits passenger during at Atlanta Airport. Okay, so... so a Delta Airlines pilot smacking a passenger who was fighting with another passenger at Atlanta Airport. TMS, don't know who they are, that's the online...
Right. They're big.
Well, it's Fox News Insider, right? Okay. Reported in red and bold that the incident occurred on the 21st after the plane landed at the airport.
Okay.
And the passengers were deplaning flight 1827, which flies between Atlanta
and Fort Lauderdale.
Unbelievable.
Two women started fighting, and the Delta pilot apparently trying to break up the brawl.
Grabbed one woman by the arm and struck her
with his hand. You know, it's unfortunate, and it got caught on tape, and that's all that people see. The pilot shouldn't have gotten involved. You know why? One, it was off the plane.
Right.
It was off the plane. That could have been easily handled. That's not a problem for the pilot or the cabin crew. Once it's off the plane, it has.
But they're on the jetway, so
it doesn't matter.
Really?
Once you're off that plane,
whose responsibility is it? The airport authority.
Airport authorities, the gate agents or ground staff.
Oh yeah, okay. It's hard to tell because there was a guy there with a yellow bib, and I'm not sure. If
ground personnel.
Okay, but they're not airport authorities.
They're not airport authorities. They can call airport authorities.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But they're ground staff.
They're ground staff. That was off the plane and the airport. They should have called the police, and the police should have come on the jetway. Yeah. I don't know if, I mean, again, I don't know if you would get in trouble for that, how much you would get in trouble.
What would have caused the pilot to be... No, sorry, that makes sense now because they were deplaning. So there was a relatively long line of
people getting off.
But even when I have been in row 65 and the last guy off the plane and not in a real rush because at the end of the day, you know, you've got a jet wave shit full of people, right? That the pilot and the first captains and supporting staff are generally still on the plane.
Still on the plane.
Doing their shit.
Right.
So the fact that all of these people were still where they were in the jetway and the pilot was solo.
Right.
It wasn't like he was with all the other guys as well and carrying, we don't know where the luggage was and stuff. But you can only see what you see, but it just seems bizarre.
Right. Kind of like he went out of his way.
That he's out there a little bit.
So if I were the pilot manager, the chief pilot, right, that's called, I would have, my question would be the same thing. If I saw this video, my question would be like, where were you standing? What were you doing? And where'd you come from? What, and then why?
Yeah.
And then he would tell me his story, and then I would, my probably argument would be like, well, stay on the plane next time. Call for law enforcement.
But assume what we don't know is should he have been off the plane, and assume he would have been
Pilots, you know, if it's a terminating flight for them, if it's their last flight, they get off the plane quick.
Okay, but say it is.
So he might have been already out of the cockpit.
Yeah. So he was.
Right. I mean, he could have been on his way out, and he saw this happening as he was getting out.
Okay. Yeah. So assume he was in the right place at the right time prior to the incident happening.
Right.
Assume that. Okay. And that happened in front of you.
Right.
And you're the pilot.
Would I get involved?
Yeah.
No.
No. I would just.
I wouldn't. I'd probably walk right by and then tell the gate agent, call the police.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go home.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Yeah. I don't want to get involved with that stuff.
Exactly.
And then someone catches me on film, and then I got to explain myself. I hit somebody.
Exactly. And you know, for those people who probably think, why are we talking like this? And I'll tell you why. Because if you're a normal punter, if you're working in Louis Vuitton, right, as a sales assistant, and there are two people grappling over a bag, you, as the sales assistant, well, I doubt many sales assistants would go and get involved.
Probably.
They would probably call the guy at the front, the security, to get involved. Or the security would see it and basically get involved themselves. Or if you weren't an upmarket shop that had security, you would call centre security. Right. Shopping centre security. And get them involved. Right. I doubt very much any employee going home or coming to work or actually at work get involved in an altercation. I wouldn't.
But it happens.
Now, this guy could be up for criminal charges.
If the passengers wanted to.
Correct. Well, forget the disrepute to Delta that he's caused. Right. He's also got the personal liability of that. And that's why, you know, just to change topics, I think we've talked about
I mean, again, going quickly about this, I don't know if he was a captain or not. I didn't see how many stripes he had. But pilots have a lot of power, especially captains.
What's his pilot? Oh, sorry. Well, you're a first pilot, yeah.
Right. So if he was a captain and he found himself in a hot seat because of this, right? I think he would easily be able to get his way out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Doesn't make it right.
No.
Doesn't make it right. I want to see whether or not he's a pilot, just out of curiosity.
Pause it when you see his shoulder, so I can see how many stripes he has. Pause. Wait.
Couldn't see it, did you really? Anyway. Yeah, so going back to your point, how much power? I mean, how much power can a pilot have?
If he was,
and get away with it.
If he was being investigated and found himself in a hot seat, and and there was an investigation and asking him what was he doing? Where was he coming from? Why did he choose to get involved? And he said, for whatever reason, he could say anything. He said, like, again, if he was getting off the plane, he saw this happening, he could say, you know, he wanted to prevent someone else from getting hurt or this and that. The airline will look out in the favor of the pilot and say he had good
Intent.
And then, of course, if it came to lawsuits, which I doubt it will, because these people don't really look like upstanding citizens.
But these, well, mate, I mean, these guys are the ones, I think, quite frankly, that would want to sue.
Right, but I don't think these
cash
people,
out.
Right, but these people don't have a valid argument, and these people don't have the lawyer power to go against the company.
They could find a lawyer, mate.
I'm sure they would find
just
a lawyer.
the bad social media press.
Bad social media. But again, the company like Delta would go to bat with their best team of lawyers and take care of the pilot.
They would support the pilot, but
Right.
I guarantee you that they would settle out of court and they'd pay
Everything's settled out of court.
They'd pay some big money here.
Probably.
That would be my feeling.
Probably.
But it's interesting, you know.
But I don't think the pilot would lose any. You know, he wouldn't be.
Yeah. It's a tough one. Look, without knowing in fairness to the pilot, without knowing the end to end.
Right. And with these videos, we never do.
You never do. But again, when you just take it on the surface, pilot's job ends when he gets off the plane, as does the cabin crew.
Right.
Now, let me just give you one example before we finish up.
Right.
We have a situation we've had situations in Australia where you've been in a shopping centre that someone has either fallen over or slipped,
Right.
you know, in agony, and you know someone's gone to help them in good intent, good faith,
Right.
and moved them and has caused irreparable spinal damage.
Right.
The guy helping the person who had the fall
Is liable.
has been sued for millions, and
Right.
you know their lives destroyed.
Right.
Okay, and it's all come about with good intent and best faith and
Right.
whatever you want to call it. And it's got to the point now where people just don't help
They don't
people outside where they're protected.
Right.
So you know if the pilot's indemnified by Delta, then he's probably inclined to get involved. If he had good intent,
Right.
and he's indemnified,
Right. He's protected by a certain barrier. Yeah.
okay, mate, you know, it's an easier decision.
Right.
But if I'm not indemnified, right, and it's not my job,
Yeah.
and two people kicking the shit out of each other because you know someone stepped on someone else's toe,
Yeah.
hey man,
Yeah.
someone else has got a job, let them do it,
Yeah.
you know, and it's the same situation I was confronted with my sister and a friend. My sister came over to Bangkok a couple of months ago.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah. She had her son. Son had his girlfriend, and the girlfriend's brother wanted to come.
Okay.
I was fine, right? Until I found out that he was allergic to peanuts. So he's anaphylactic.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so there's
Candy peanuts.
Yeah, so allergic to nuts.
Right.
Any nuts. Even smelling them can
Right.
you know, kill him.
Right.
Within seconds. Right? I think he's got a minute to basically jab himself with the injection.
Wow.
With his pen. And yeah, not under my watch, mate.
Yeah.
Not step foot into my house under my watch.
Yeah.
Never in your life. I just won't take that responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't need that shit in my life.
Nope.
I think I'm doing him probably an injustice because I wouldn't know how to deal with the situation. If I had to use one of those pens, they're not easy.
Right.
Okay.
How do you know? You know, you don't know what you have in your.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, you know, you could say, well, okay, you have a pen, Eva. I have a pen. You know, the sister has a pen. You know, but what if we're all in the toilet at the time that it happens? What if we, you know, we're pissed? What if we're, you know, use the pen the wrong way? I mean, just too many risks. So, and people now, unfortunately, just don't want to help other people.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but you know, you're on the hook in most countries.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, buddy. So, what do you got planned for the next sort of week here in Bangkok?
Well, my plan was I have to go back. I have to go back on Saturday. I have to fly back for work. My plan is actually to see if I could drop my trip, meaning I give it away to somebody else, so I don't have to fly back just to work it.
Right.
It's only 2-3 days, and then I could just come back. I could stay here. I gotta go out to the Philippines. Have you been to the Philippines
Yeah.
before? I gotta go out to the Philippines next week.
Don't like the Philippines. Scary.
It is, yeah. I have to go there next week if I can drop this trip.
Right.
Either way, I have to go back to work it. It's only 3 days, and then come back to Asia. Come back to Bangkok, Philippines. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but this month's an easy month.
Right.
Next month it'll be my busy month.
So, how much time in Asia will you be spending?
Where, here?
Yeah, home.
Well, this month I'm here almost 3 weeks out of the month.
No, so when it really gets
When it really gets busy, maybe I'll be here 4 days.
Out of the month.
5 days out of the month.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's every other month.
Every second month for 5 days.
Correct. So next month, June,
Yeah.
I'll be busy, so I won't be able to come here
Right.
as much. July, my birthday month, I'll be able to be here for 3 weeks, 2 weeks. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you'll lump every other month.
Back
you'll
forth.
lump.
Yeah. Work hard 1 month, take it easy the next month. Work hard
Okay.
1 month, take it easy the next month.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's good of them to let you do that.
Yeah.
Is that something you planned or something they do for everybody?
Something. It's both. They give everybody 1 month on, 1 month off, 1 month on, 1 month off,
Mm.
and then people for me, I want to be here. I want to travel, but there's other people who just fly.
But you could stick around in New York and
Yeah,
just
if I
run
wanted to
around.
stay in New York and not come back here for the rest of the month, I could just fly and make more money.
Yeah, no, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Good, mate.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Always a pleasure, mate. Fascinating
Thank you.
stuff. I almost don't like having you on the program, mate, because all this stuff happens.
Yeah.
But none of this stuff was good. But at least it was a little bit less significant than the stuff.
I guarantee
that,
you'll see a lot of changes happening with company policies and how things are happening. Will it continue to happen? I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
But I think airlines have to go about approaching it in different ways now.
Yeah.
Because they're losing the battles.
Yeah. We said that about guns on planes. We said that about plane crashes and having the right amount of fuel in your plane. We've said that about
Right.
flight fighting.
Right.
Mate, I hope you're right, and I hope it does get fixed
Yeah.
because it's.
You don't hear
it's
this
an
stuff
idea.
go on in Asia, right?
Mate, there was some funny you mentioned that. There was some incidences, and maybe we'll pick up on this, after the podcast. But there's some incidences with Chinese.
Okay.
There was one lady who spilt hot water tea over an AirAsia air hostess.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was all in a spate
Right.
of a couple of months of horrific stories with Chinese passengers.
Right.
Mainly in China, but it started to sort of, I think there was one in Japan, there was one in Thailand.
Right.
Yeah, some pretty heavy stuff, but that sort of went away and stopped.
Right.
But you don't. I think the Asian culture is such where it's a little bit more subservient
Right.
and understanding and accommodating.
Right.
Would an Asian have gotten up
Probably not. They're very they're very
non-confrontational?
non-confrontational.
Yeah. Would he have? Would have been
No, that's the typical American culture
guy.
Stereotypical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I agree with you. Both of them had to be taken off the flight. I would love to have known
Easily, yeah.
whether or not
I can never see an Asian flight attendant, Asian cabin, air hostess, go to a passenger and say, "Hit me, come on, hit me."
No, oh no.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine it.
No. They're all half the time. they're half the time you can't even hear what they're saying because
Exactly.
they speak so
Yeah.
so quiet. You
Yeah.
know?
No. Look, I know we did in the first couple of podcasts bag the quality of service of flight attendants and compared it to the early days of flying. But in all fairness, when you do look at the Asian flight attendants, their quality, their demeanour,
Right.
their intent,
It's a night and day.
it is black and white, or night and day compared to Western.
Easily.
And even European.
Easily.
Some European.
Yeah.
But anyway, mate, always great to have you.
Again, thanks so much.
We'll see you
Thanks
soon,
so much.
buddy.
Looking forward to it.
Peak Freaks, see you later.
Take care.